Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not a great base truly for watercolor.
No. And I also found out that the first time I used it on canvas, that painting worked out pretty well. And then, you know, months went by and I got it out and used it and it didn't work. I mean, I think I needed to get a fresh bottle of it. Turned out to be easier to use. We're taking a break. Break and then
well, we have enough time.
Move into our demo.
And that includes the teacher.
Hi, I'm so glad you're here. I
talk to her some more. I'm sure she'll talk to you after her demo. So
yeah, because I want to give you guys a chance to mess around with it. That's most fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Actually.
Okay. Shh. Yeah. So I'm going to look at my notes too, but Lonnie presently lives in Los Altos Hills. Is that correct?
Right.
Soon to be moving to the Reno Tahoe area.
Yes.
And she teaches at the Pacific Art League in Palo Alto. I don't know if you teach anywhere else.
Well, I'm actually I am a mentor for international encaustic artists. So I teach people from all over the world, actually.
Great. Oh, great.
Which is pretty great, but they're not here.
Right.
They're kind of
online.
Zoomed and then, yeah.
Yeah, great. And let's see what else I have. And she went to art school. I'm not sure where you went to art school.
San Jose State.
Okay. And I'm not sure if it was after art school you got into painting with oils or while you were in art school.
I was painting in art school. I was painting mostly with oils. I was just starting to mess around with encaustics. You know, it was kind of a bad word in fine art school at that time. So I was like, please don't give me an F. I'd really like to try this. And then after that, I
later got into encaustics. Yeah. And she'll tell you what encaustics are. So I'm not going to read this thing.
Okay.
Lonnie can explain it way better than me. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, thank you for inviting me. You know, like all of us, I really like to jump into all your studios and see what you're up to. It's just so much fun to see everybody's individual way they work and what they're doing and the medium they're using and why they're doing it. I love it in my students and I love it in other artists. So it's kind of fun for me just to even see a few pieces and hear from you. So, I love this medium and I love teaching. I do a lot of teaching. So you'll hopefully hear my enthusiasm all the way through it. So encaustics, most of you have seen encaustics by now, right? You've seen them in, you know, hanging encaustic paintings most of the time, or collages that involve, you know, wax on usually a board. I mean, that's usually a hard surface. That's typically what you see, and which is wonderful. Now you see them more often. Yeah, it's, I mean, it doesn't have any paint on it, but it's often on a panel. And people are, what you do is you use a different process.
Well, actually, I can hold it up. I took a workshop years ago.
Yeah, it just has a wax surface on it right now, a flat wax surface. That's very different than what I'm going to show you today. But encaustics basically is a technique that utilizes pigmented beeswax, like this. All of these are chunks, and I'm sorry, they're a little dirty, my class has been using them. But these are all chunks of wax that, here, you can pass them around if you want to look at them. And they all have pigment and a little bit of resin in them. And this is an ancient art. It was used kind of originally in Greece, ancient Greece. And typically for doing portraits on wood panels. In fact, and then later the Romans and the Egyptians used them. And then it got sort of phased out as tempera and oils became more the medium and more popularized and also better. But it's been a bit revived here in the last maybe 15 years, I would say. It's been around for longer than that, but it's now hitting exhibitions and people are buying some of the art, and it's around. And that's been interesting. Some of the people, like even Diego Rivera, Jasper Johns, they messed around with it and started bringing it into that, you know, more contemporary look and kind of modernizing it. The abstract expressionists, as you probably know, post World War II in New York, messed around with everything, and that was their opportunity to bring the waxes up. And then the word, Greek word encausticos is actually means to burn. So it's really about burn, you know, I hate to say burn, but heating the wax. And that's because you're fusing wax together, layer upon layer upon layer, and you need heat to do that. That is what allows you to put one layer of color on another layer of color, or in the sense of what she was showing you, how you can build up wax on those boards. So that's sort of how it all got going. Now there are a lot of encaustic artists around. Most of them you'll see are painting. So that's where you melt the wax, and you've literally got paintbrushes in it, and you're painting on these wood panels, and then incising and putting color in them. Sometimes you can collage papers into them, you can ink them. I mean, the possibilities with encaustic are truly endless. I mean, and I did paint with encaustic and do collage and do all of that for years, and taught it for years. And it's it's just beautiful. I never made any money because I love the material so much that I bought all the supplies. I wanted all my students to have everything they could possibly work with in there. But the point is, you can, which is really nice. So about maybe 15 years ago, I was messing around. Even while I was teaching the painting, I was messing around with the encaustic monotypes. And that's what this is a different process. This one is still new. This one you don't see, even in any encaustic show. You rarely see. It's usually me, actually, at the moment. There are people that do mess around with this, but then what they do is go glue them to the boards and add on to them. So they're not, a lot of the encaustic monotype artists are not utilizing this as the end result, and in more of a painterly way, which is how I work. So I was an oil painter for years. I think in layers. It's very suitable to me. And what this is it's basically it's a print. It's a combination really of sort of painting and drawing and printing all together. The beautiful thing about this is when you think of an image that you want to paint or whatever it is, you visualize it. You have to really think through the layers and what is going to happen to this wax when it melts on this hot plate. This is hot. The wax you put on it melts like butter. And so you've got a molten wax image that's going all over, and how do you control it? And how do you let it go? And how do you bring it back? And so that's what this is. So it's basically making a painting in molten wax, putting some rice paper over that. Once you've got the image on the plate, the rice paper absorbs it, and I'll show you all how to do this and give you a chance to do it, absorbs the image fully, and then you pull it off for a one-time print. There is a ghost print left a lot of times, and that's kind of fun to mess around with too. And you can reinvigorate it, which is fun. But that is the basic process. Now, one of the reasons I love to teach this is it is so gratifying immediately. I mean, it does melt like butter, so that's fun to begin with. And it also is fast, so it can be fast. You get surprised. No matter what happens, the final melting and melding of this together when you pull it off can surprise you. And a lot of times, like all of our accidents, once in a while they're happy ones, and the other ones, it goes fast here. And I've learned to actually save a lot of my old ones because sometimes I go back into them and mess around with them or even rip them apart and put them together as a collage on the plate. So I basically feel, you know, just so you know me, I love materials. I love mixing the materials. When I learned this encaustic monotype process, it was mostly do your painting on the front, put the paper down, print it, and pull it off. And I like to print the front and the back and draw on the front and draw on the back and do it over again. And so I work this print all over the place, and I ended up getting a lot more depth, a lot more painterly works. And then also I myself scaled up. So I do paintings that are, you know, I do triptychs that are 96 by 102 that are these prints. And in fact, some of the books are going around. I have, these are from shows that I have in a magazine article, and they show some of the big triptychs and diptychs and stuff. So my point is you can really blow this out, the scale as much as you want. You can choose how you want to do it, and you can get a lot out of it by reprinting multiple areas. So this box, let me tell you about this. This is called a hot box. And it really basically has light bulbs in here. And it has a controller here. I had the woman who actually designed these is named Paula Rowland. Some people have heard of her. She's a bit of a guru in the encaustic world. And she wasted so much wax when she was doing the paintings that she decided to, and they fell on her hot plate, and she's blotting them up, and you know, like, why am I not making paintings out of this, basically? And she kind of pulled this together. She designed the boxes, which are called Paula Rowland hot boxes, and she then sold that company to a manufacturer in New York, which is the only commercial company that makes them. So in September of this year, I got the International Encaustic Artists Group gave me a grant so that I could have these boxes built so that I could teach at their organization. So I did call up a friend of mine who can probably do anything, I think, and she made all these boxes for me. So she's local here, and she makes them for $400, these boxes. And the only other option is buying them from New York for $750. So that was kind of nice. And they work very well. They consist of these boxes. They have light bulbs, but now they're moving toward the ceramic heaters that we use in a reptile cage, because what they're using now is 100-watt incandescent bulbs, which are not going to be available, aren't almost available. So they're switching over there, and they're still able to make this hot plate up to about 180 degrees, which is what it is. I keep it up around them. You don't really want to go up to 200 and above, because what happens, the wax, you know, the particles are in the air, and it is combustible. I mean, I've never seen it catch fire, but it can. So, you know, you try to keep it in the range of 185, which is, you know, I mean, I can tell what that is just by looking at what it does on the paper, but I also have temperature gauge.
Lonnie, does it heat up pretty fast?
It heats up really fast. Yeah, it does. At this size, you know, mine take a half hour to heat up, because I use 8 of these together in big plates. So they take a while. What I want to do is just do some show you how it works, and then invite you to come up and do some yourself, because honestly, you really get the feel of this. You get the idea of it when you mess around with it. It is one of those things, and also it's just fun. So, and I do not do fantastic saleable images when I'm demoing, but I do explain how it happens. I always think, oh, I've got to practice this before I get there.
But you've got these books that we can look at too.
Yes, you can. I have these books. This is a magazine article that just came out and I'm in it, and it has about 15 images of me in here.
Okay.
You can actually, if you're interested, you can go to their website and you can see this whole magazine digitally free. And which is kind of nice because there are other encaustic artists too. And none of them are doing monotypes, but you can see everything in this magazine going around is really for artists. So they're process articles. This is my process. So it is 28 pages of what I think and why I do it in there. So
you didn't bring any examples of your work because most of them are really
no, I didn't, but I did bring some books of some shows, and here's another one. Some of them are going on now, and it has my work in there. So you can see some of the big triptychs and diptychs.
What is the material on the top?
Oh yeah, sorry. This is an anodized aluminum plate. And it's anodized so that the pigment from the waxes don't go into it. It just wipes off pretty quickly. So this is it. Simply, I have 2 different kinds of rice paper here today, and they're sort of the high end of average. You can get rice papers, as you know, all the way up, to fantastic, unbelievable kiticatas and all kinds of things that are just really luscious, but they get very expensive. And I have found that these work really well in terms of absorbing the wax. And I just get these for my classes on Amazon. And what I care about is that they absorb the wax well, and that they can work the surface a little bit without the paper ripping all over the place. And these work well. So I've got 2 different kinds to use. And I'm gonna show you, first of all, I mean, you can see how it just melts. I don't know what you see. Do you see? It's a little bit, I mean, I almost,
Hold on, we'll
I was gonna say, I'm used to people standing right here, but I see that you're good. I see that you're moving, and
because we'll block it for the Zoom people.
we can gather those.
Yeah.
Let's see the video. Here we go.
Yeah.
Could you use like a pencil, pencil shape, more fine point?
yes, I have some things in here that I use. These are very interesting. They're graphite and wax. So I use them hot, but I use these to do a lot of drawing on top. So I'll show you that. And this is also graphite and wax. It's just the different, the grayer color. I also use oil pastels because, they also melt like butter. And I use them sometimes to get a little more structure in the piece. And then even as I work, if I really saturate this with wax, my papers, there's a lot of wax on here. I even put more of this clear wax. This is what the wax looks like unpigmented. So I put the clear wax on and get it very saturated. Then I just take a woodless pencil and go to town in the wax, and it kind of melts in the wax, and it's a lot of fun too. So, and then you can use ink pens, a lot of different things on the piece when it's cold. Once it's off the plate, you can also draw into it, which I have artists in my classes that have done, first they ripped up their paper and did a collage, which I've never done in my life because I don't do those. She made a collage out of it, and then she drew into it afterwards. And then now it's and that's the only thing she did in my class. She's been to 3 of my classes, all 6 weeks, never follow my directions, ignore me completely, and that is all she does. And they're amazing, but that is it. Once in a while she makes a face or a flower and says, "This is for you." So can you see now a little better? Ooh, that is bright. I'll use mine. It's not that bright on here.
Like,
Okay.
those sticks don't look like the sticks when I go to the art store. So are you putting your color in your sticks? Are you making your color?
No. And this actually, there are several, if you look at these, there are several different kinds of paint. So these are R&F paints. This is what is typical. These are called WizArt paints, and they have different amounts of resin in them. The more resin, which it's typically like 8:2 beeswax to resin. The more resin, the higher the temperature of the melting point is. Also, some of them have so much beeswax in them, they just melt on the plate very fast. Some are translucent, some are opaque, you know, so the different brands make a difference. This one I made and it's awful. So I don't use it.
So when you say,
this is another one, highly pigmented. I don't even know how it got in my student group.
I'm sorry, when you say 8 to 10, so which is the
8:2.
8 to 2, I'm sorry.
8 beeswax, 2 resin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more
And-
beeswax.
Yeah.
Is this beeswax you can eat?
Yeah, it's beeswax, real
So
beeswax.
So it's very
It's
expensive.
filtered,
Yeah.
you know.
It's expensive.
Yes,
yeah.
these paints are not cheap.
Yeah.
Definitely not cheap. Okay, so you saw a little bit how I put a little bit of this green on, and I'm just going to add more green. So one of the nice things is you can keep adding to the colors and going over the colors, because when you do it, when I do it and it's hot, I'm actually pushing the wax aside and putting the new color in. So you'll see it when I print this. You'll see the pooling of the wax. So part of what I have to do as an artist is figure out where do I want the wax to pool and where do I not want it to pool, and how close do I put this on together so that it melts together or leaves me space, you know. So it's kind of interesting. So you see I'm putting this really bright one in now.
How much pressure do you apply?
Well, I'm putting a little more pressure on because I am pushing the wax around.
Okay.
Yeah, but usually, I mean, the truth is it's hot enough, you don't have to do anything. And this one is pretty hot. So you see, I'm just putting it right over the top. Okay, now I'm just gonna do a few different things. I mean, it doesn't look like it's gonna be anything. I just want you to see how I can do it. So what I am achieving by doing this is I have already created 2 planes, basically. I've got some depth here already in the first pass. So this is a pretty hot plate and there's a lot of wax on it. I mean, isn't that just so beautiful?
Yeah.
It's just like butter.
It is. Look at it. It just.
I have a dumb question, but you're mixing like that yellow with the green. Do you have to go back and clean your wax?
Yeah, that's
Not really. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, if I want it really clean, I want a clean thing. I can clean it up pretty quickly. You just melt it right off. Yeah. But sometimes I don't really care about it, and I'll tell you why. So this is on here. It's very loose. I just wanted to give you a first thing because I can show you what I can do with it. So the first thing you do is you take the paper, and the smooth side is the one you put down. That's the one that is just the most absorbent. So I'm just gonna put this on, and you see how quickly it absorbs.
What kind of paper?
This is rice paper. It is sketch paper. This is not expensive paper. This
So
is
would
like,
it be like what you call like single or double Xuan, XUAN?
I don't know.
I just know it from calligraphy, not.
I don't know. What I use is masa paper on my own, MASA, which is nice, thick, 50-gram masa paper, which absorbs the wax really well. Okay, so you see I'm letting it melt in. I'm trying to make sure, and you guys, when you do this, you can do it with a rag. I'm used to touching the plate. I don't even notice it, you know. So when I pull it off, this is what it looks like. And let me tell you that this is what it looks like when the plate's too hot. You see how it all melted together? It's too hot. So I'm going to turn down the plate, and I'm sure that one's too hot too, but that's all right. I'm going to show.
In your book,
Mm-hmm.
you have like this one with the birds. You go back and draw paint the birds on the wax, or it's...
Yeah. Well, so what I did for that one is I created the bird, you know, whatever bird. This is really bad wax. So I created a place for the bird. On the first pass. And I'm just going to get enough on here so I can really see. So on the top, I'm just going to show you the process that I did for that because it was different. So the first thing I did was I did a bunch of birds on a panel. Well, first of all, I lightly sketched in some bird. I laid out 3 pieces of huge paper. I sketched in some birds really lightly, only the shape, not the actual bird, but the shape of it. Then I went to the plate like I am now, and I printed birds on one side like this. And I did all the birds on all 3 of those panels so that I laid them out, and I had a whole bunch of white birds on the front, just like this though, really loose and messy. Then I cleaned my plate. I'm just going through that whole process for you. This is a little bit different, but at least you can see. Okay, so now I'm laying it down, the bottom down, and I decided that I'd like to get a little bit more wax on these birds on top because I almost want them to mask what goes underneath. So I went over the top with wax because this just melts right in. So now I gave it a little more structure, a little more wax. Now I'm preventing, I'll be preventing what the background from coming into them. Okay. So now on the front, I have a lot of wax, sort of a random shape of birds. Then the next thing I did.
Creating a background.
Now I'm going to create the background right now. So the rest of the painting is everything else you see in the bird images that you might see when you look at. Everything else was printed on the back and comes through to the front, and actually even comes through in the birds in part. I'm just gonna here's the bird. Yeah, they're in the magazine too, I think they are. I don't know.
So if in watercolor, that's pretty much you're doing the wash. You know.
Oh yeah, for the back.
Yeah, for the back.
And yeah, it is fun, and I'm kind of hurrying because I want you to see what this can be.
So like finger painting.
It is like finger painting a little bit. Now I'm taking white over this. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Those are just good. So now I'm taking white all over it because I want to make it a little skyish. It's just too intense up there. And then also, this is just one color down here. So I'm just adding something. It's not so boring. Of course,
What is the difference using crayons?
Crayons are cheap wax,
right? Yeah,
and they're not well pigmented, and they kind of fall apart.
So that's why they use the beeswax.
Yeah, it's much better. So I don't know why this is splitting up.
Okay, I see.
It's a very interesting thing. It's the plate. Okay. So now I'm printing on the back of this.
On the back.
So it's coming through the back, and it's not coming through the birds. And if it is coming through the birds, it's just coming through the birds a little bit, which I don't mind. I actually like it coming through the birds a little bit. You get a little more continuity, but you see how they're starting to emerge here. And you know how fast I'm doing this.
Negative space painting.
Yeah. So then once I had this on all of these 3 panels, then I started, you know, and I had to measure, you know, how much of the sky do I want on this one, and so that so the panels would work together. But then I went in with that little black, let me just get these. I am sure to step and smush these. This is what I do. And then walk all over the house, and you know, so then I went in with this painting, and then I just drew birds.
And that's like charcoal wax.
Yeah, this is so I just kind of, and of course I was a little more careful. I looked at, you know, the images that I wanted a little bit, but you get the idea here. And then I did not like a couple things from this. I don't like the bubbles all over. And I also, which this plate is doing a little bit, but also I don't like that crayon look in the black. I like it a little darker. I like it to, you know, so sometimes I take it clear and I go over it from the top.
And kind of, yeah, make it more.
And also I turn down the heat. So that's the other reason why it's not melting together. I turn down the heat. That's how fast it happens. So this one's much hotter. So I'm just going to give it a second to heat up. But I kind of go through like this and just let it melt in, and I can pull a lot of that color together. And I also can pull the rest of the color off the plate. So this is in a nutshell how I did it. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going back to this one now. Sorry. This is my one of choice. So
We need 2 cameramen.
I also want, now I'm putting clear all over the plate because I want to saturate this a little more with wax. And for some reason I'm getting all these bubbles, and I'm not really sure why. I took this plate out of the student lot. So now you see I'm pulling all of those bubbles out and I'm bringing it all together here. And now the color is looking nice, much nicer. Yeah. So I love using this. This is like a nice, you can blend colors with it. You can really saturate your piece, which I will send this around so you can see what it feels like, this saturated piece. It feels much different. And I love these colors together. Now it's something. Now it's something I could look at.
How do you choose to show your art? Because I know that some wax artists frame everything behind glass when they do this technique. Yeah. And I don't get that sense from you.
No, I float everything, actually. So I literally take, I take stainless steel nails and I put them through the piece and through the mat board, you know, so the mat board comes out a couple inches all the way around. And it also goes through the foam core behind the mat board. I put them together so they don't move around. And then I, you know, put foam core on the back tip so nobody gets killed when they move my paintings around. And then I paint, these are flat head nails. They're not thin, they're flat head. And then I take acrylic paints and I match my paintings. And I paint the top head of the nail and you never see them. I mean, you just don't see them in the paintings. And then it floats. Now, the reason I do that is, and then I put spacers, of course, between the acrylic and my piece, so it has room. These move around a little bit. When I first started doing them, and I had no time, and I was showing them, I put them right up against the glass. I put them top to bottom because I had a huge one. I thought, well, why not just take it top to bottom? But it moves in the heat. They move around, and then they crunch a little, just enough to annoy you, actually. But when they're floating, you don't get any of that. So this is what it feels like. It's pretty rough from this paper, but the front, this is the front. So you can sort of, well, that's not true. Well, now I know why I didn't like it. Because this is the front, and this is the back, and the back is gritty, and so it wouldn't let my paint, it wouldn't let that black.
Wow, this is really another creation.
Yeah, now I'm going back to the front. Okay, so when you print the front and the back, you do have to get it right. I have ruined a few paintings.
So basically, your painting has both front and back.
Yeah.
But also the paper itself is different from the back.
So now I like the front. It's much nicer. So you can, but it's good to see both. Sometimes I do choose. I have had people buy my paintings from the backside. Sure. And the backside is what's showing, but all this effort in the front, and the back is what is on their wall. So this happens.
Do you feel like you have to put glass over this?
I do, because it's rice paper. However, I've got a show going on right now, and I've got really big pieces. And so what I did was get a, it's nice to talk to artists, you know what I'm talking about. This looks lovely. I just got some floater frames, basically, and dropped in some panels, big panels. And I put magnets on the big panels because they're all 32 by 66 each panel. So I put magnets on the panel, and then they're in that very thin floater frame. And then I put the rare earth magnets on the top and the bottom. You can't even see them on a piece that big. And that way I've got a big triptych, and I've got a diptych. So I've got big panels, which if I was to put acrylic on them, that size would cost me a fortune. I did the birds that you're looking at. That was sold, and the client did their own. They did their own frame, and they framed them all together under one frame, one piece of acrylic, huge. Wow. It is 90. It's bigger than 96 by 102. It's huge in their house, but it was $11,000 to do that. Yeah, so I don't do that, and it's very sturdy without the wax, but I sell them unframed, the big ones, and then people can, if you framed them individually, it would never cost that amount, but they had to build up the whole, you can imagine.
What was the acrylic? I'm not understanding.
Glass.
I mean acrylic glass, but it's not glass, it's acrylic. Yeah. It never touches it, yeah, because you put spacers in between, which is nice. It's actually a nice way to do any of your work. Great for pastels, great for a lot of things. So another thing that I do is, and I want to come back to this because I still like it. No, but it will on the block for the people that really layer a lot of wax on these boards. If you put them in hot sun, it will usually melt. Yeah, this is the thinnest layer of wax. You'll see when you do it. It's a very thin layer. It totally absorbs into the paper. Yeah. So I want to
tilt your board so that wax lands. You could.
Tilt?
Yeah, tilt, like the board is straight, but if you tilt a little bit, and then wax might melt and runs.
Yeah, you could melt it somewhere else and pour it on this plate. Oh, I mean, you can do all kinds of things, really. I tend to do more painterly more painterly paintings. You know, they're less crafty in a way, if you think of it like that. Now I say that, and you might say that the woman who does all these collages in my class does very crafty work. And they're spectacular. So the point is, you can do what you want. Now I'm putting it on the back because I want the blue to come all around the edges. And I'm using this to get the rest, to get it all from the back. And it's too slow for me. So you get the real me here. It's too slow for me, so I'm even going back on top a little bit. And what I do, I'll just put a little bit of color where it's missing. You know, it just doesn't have enough. And then I'll come back with the clear. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Your white wax almost like a, let's say, eraser.
This?
Yeah. Not as an eraser, but
it's a blender, big, very big blender.
Yeah, like everything together.
Yeah, and you don't have to use this. If you put a lot of color on, you know, sometimes, you know, if you've got a lot of wax with a lot of color, you don't really need anything else. So now what I'm looking at is, I call the front, the foundation part of it. The front is the front here on this one. And I have some really fun, I never use metallics, but my students do. So I'm doing it now. So now I want, this is the dance of this, that you're always trying to figure out how much you want it to be spread and how much you want to bring structure back to it. Now, what I like about this is you can go back and forth a little bit. So I often, you know, when I'm planning it, I plan the structure into it. I get a lot of it, but it also falls apart on me because of the melting, and you don't always know exactly what you're doing. Although on my big plates, sometimes I want the bottom part of a painting to melt and the up to be all run together. And I want the top part to be very structured, like houses or something. So I turn the plate temperature down on the top and turn it up on the bottom. Everything melts together on the bottom, and then I hold it together on the top. So varying that changes things too.
So it has two, how does that work? It has two.
Well, I just have 8 or 10 plates put together. So now I'm just putting a little bit of this gold in because it's so pretty. And I'm just getting a teeny bit of structure, like you feel like there are petals here that you're looking at that go with more than just one flower. They're just not one whole blob. And some of the green, exactly what I do at home. Where's my color? Where's my color? It's lost. This is it. Yeah, it's behind me. Right. So this green, I love this green, and I want to make it feel more like a leaf. So it's also wax. I'm just going in on top of what's already here and making that sort of leaf structure.
You start with shape, right?
And now I'm getting the shape of it. Yeah, I can't say that it's really amazing, but I am getting something out of it.
How many different colors do you have?
I have a lot of colors here, actually. You know, I like for my students to have, I mean, don't you think when you're doing a watercolor or any of your pieces, if you have 4 different kinds of oranges and 4 different kinds of reds, and, you know, you use all of those and then you can tone them and tint them, but it's a beautiful thing to have salmon pinks and darker pinks and, you know, blue purples, and I just like colors. So I try to give them, you know, choices. I try to give them things to work with, You know, it's more fun. It's just more fun.
Lonnie, can you etch if you were gonna do like graffiti, like sgraffito?
Yeah.
You know, sgraffito where you take some kind of tool and you want to make some sort of lines. Like I can do that with my paint. I take a rubber tip and I sgraffito.
Yes, and I'm gonna do that next, actually.
Great.
I am going to draw with this rubber tip. So this, everything I'm showing you here is putting the wax on. It's not really taking it off. Taking it off is a whole other process for this. So I just wanna, I can finish this later. I just wanted you to see how I can get some of the structure back. And then I'll send it your way. Yeah. So then should really pull these out and then track them because so color makes a huge difference, you know, really. And the colors for this are spectacular. They're all so saturated and fun. So I just wanted to show you this one. And the other beautiful thing is it is dry in 30 seconds. And what I do with mine is I have a metal rod that goes across my room and I put them up there with magnets and it's done.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
It's got a nice sheen, that gold.
Yeah,
Yeah, the gold is nice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do one more thing and then I'll clean this up and let you come do some if you like. It's much more fun to do them yourself.
Very nice.
So I'll do this next one more formally, including the cleaning, and so that you know how to do it. Okay, so I'm just gonna, this is black, very black. And I'm just gonna cover my plate. Now, this plate I'm having a little trouble with because I see the dots in it, but I'm just gonna like it and get over it. So
we're not looking for perfection.
yeah, I'm just gonna say, all right, there are gonna be little dots in this and that's that.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is like velvet. It's so great. So I made these little things. Now this is about taking it off. So I just made these in my studio. These are just little, you know, rubber tips that I put on old rulers, basically, because you can really do some incredible things with this.
Wow.
And I just think it's beautiful, right? And then if you want to, you say, well, you know, there's just too much here. I don't really like all of that. So maybe I'll just take some out. And then also, the other thing you can do is, of course, I didn't bring that piece, so I'm just gonna do it with this. But you can take off areas, like what if you really do want more of a flower up here? You know, you can take off areas. You can.
Just a piece of foam?
That's just a piece of silicone thing. You can draw in with it, with this, which is also a silicone tip, to get where you want. And then, you know, if you wanted to draw an entire scene, you know, you can do this in here too. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, it almost, I've seen them that cover an entire room and they're almost look like woodcuts. They're so beautiful. And then the other thing you can do is just kind of start over. You like this area to be green.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So, and maybe I even want more down somewhere. Come back to this. You can find it again.
So you can also do an empty one.
So this is fun. So I'm just giving you an example of what it can be with these etching tools. And I have a lot of different etching tools, and sometimes, with different sizes. You can also do other, this can give you texture.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So I want to take this off so you can see, but I'm going to do it with this other paper. This paper is thinner, still has the smooth on the rough side on it. And so I'm going to put the smooth side down every time, smooth side down. Just want to get enough so you can see what's what.
Can you use wax paper?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think you'll get it to go into the paper. So when you pull it up, you really get a lot of detail.
Wow.
See, you get a lot of detail from whatever you take off. And then, it's really actually a fantastic little. I mean, the ghost print's fantastic. So sometimes I do not want to waste all of what's on here. So I just use this to blot it off, and I might use this all day long, and then you never know. So the way you clean these off, and I'll lay these out so you can do them. These all go into landfill because they have, they have pigments in them. So I try to fold them in quarters. One hand should be pushed down with, pressure to hold the plate from slipping around. The other one, you put pressure on this, and if you really put pressure on it, and black, by the way, is the hardest one to get off. Usually it's off by now. But just use your hand and a little pressure and you'll get it all off, or most of it off. Yeah, you see, I never have to scrub this hard, but the black. But by the way, I just showed you black to show you how dramatic it is, but you can do that with green or yellow or anything else that you want.
Have you ever tried to print on a non-absorptive surface like Yupo paper?
I've not done it on Yupo, on that paper.
Okay, or a piece of acrylic, or
I have. I've done gel prints. You guys all ever mess around with those gel prints?
Yeah.
And then I've printed over the gel prints. Yeah, so, but the gel prints are on rice paper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in order to make it happen. Let me show you.
when you say gel, you meant jelly prints?
Yeah, jelly prints.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
making sure that
yeah.
I was.
Okay, another thing, and I'll just use this as an example because it's fun. So I put the back side down, the smooth sides up. You can use these oil pastels, and these are cheap ones. Using the better ones, which I use at home, is even more fun. I can never say Sennelier, is that how you say that? So I use those and they really melt like butter. You barely touch it, and the pigment's amazing. But I use them because they offer me a whole other color range. So I like the color that I like. So you can just take your time and melt it right on top. These are sort of the on top last phase of finding some structure, or just putting in that last little bit of color that makes a difference to you. So these are very fun to use too on top of it. It's, it's not. So I think that I probably showed you enough. So I can get organized here so you can all come up and try it if you like.
We need a time check.
What?
We need to be out.
Oh, it's 8:45. When do you have to be out of here?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Maybe
When do you have to be out
15
of
minutes.
here?
Maybe 15 minutes.
You
You
have
can
to be out of the room at 9, right?
around
20 up.
9.
Okay, then come up here quickly.
Yeah, quick.
And because then I need to turn them off and let them get cool. So my feeling is, since we're gonna work quickly, why don't you use these smaller pieces? And it really goes through very well. So use the smaller pieces. Just grab some paints, any paints you want. Yep, I'm gonna clean that one off too. This one is a little cool, so just give it a minute. So 2 of you can work on this just because we're really late.
Okay,
So
should I go on this side?
yeah,
Does it matter?
it doesn't matter. Just give yourself enough room so you each can print one. And this one's getting hot, so this will be hot in 2 seconds. I turned it down a little bit, I guess. Well, where do I live?
Yeah.
On Magdalena.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Pigments.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the only place I get that.
You
You might want to,
This is some
the trouble with coming on this side is all the cords.
Oh, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just.
Oh, you
Yeah,
aren't?
no,
Okay.
no.
I just want to make sure you're okay.
I can have everybody else's way.
I want to make sure you're
Yeah.
okay with it. Yeah. Yeah. So you can,
I wanna try that red little rubber tip too.
yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
What's this?
This one might be not hot enough. I just turned it up, so it's just getting hot. Can you feel it? You see how it's not spreading much? But it's almost there, so it will be there. That one is one I made. It's not the best, but I still keep it because I like the translucency. And I made it from rocks, volcanic rocks from Iceland.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. You can make it.
Yeah, you can make it. This one is too. Yeah.
It's okay to just.
So you can come over here if you watch this cord.
Yeah.
That's I didn't think you guys would be on this side, so I didn't take the cords down. I usually do, so just be careful of it. But that way you can get more than one person. And there's the paper right over there. Smooth side is the one that goes down.
What's that?
It's a
Yeah.
It's like a missing file or something.
At this hour?
So when we put the
And
paper down.
when you're done, you just pull it right up. Yep. All right. I'm gonna help you guys clean them because I'm fast. And then more people. In just a minute, it will get hot enough. It's not quite
It's not there yet.
So when do we put the paper
Clean this
down?
off.
Whenever you're satisfied, then take the
Or you can
paper
go into it.
and
That's
It's not
fine too.
really a
I actually do that a lot. I go into whatever's on the plate already and mess around with it. And let it melt a little bit, you know.
Okay.
Go slow so it has
Okay.
it has a
Fine,
minute
yeah,
to
okay.
melt on the surface. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome. Well, here are my cards and my shows that are going on if you guys are interested. I did just talk too long, didn't I?
no, it was wonderful.
Well, there's just so much to know.
I did get in. Yeah, it is hard to get in. I have a nice big piece in there. I'm excited about this. Yeah. I'm very excited. I mean, it is exciting. I mean, right? It's an honor.
What
Honor.
what does she have? What do you have a piece in?
Triton.
Oh, ooh,
Triton
cool.
Museum is the Salon 2024.
Yes.
So it's a.
Is that open right now?
2,000 or 2,100 people, 2,100 pieces were submitted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
Is it open right now?
It opens. It
In a
opens
few
the
days?
25th, May 25th, 2 to 4 in the afternoon.
May 25th. Okay.
And this is where it is. So you guys can grab these. I also have a show with very big pieces, 5 big pieces in San Jose right now too.
Oh, wow. I'd love
They're
to
right
see your.
here, and you're welcome to take my flyer if you think you might want some. Super fun.
And
That's so fun.
Lonnie, do you like have an
old.
email list and all of
I
that?
can't believe this happened to me. No, I know it feels like kindergarten, right? Yeah. Kindergarten. So I make giant kindergarten paintings. You know, these are about 400. You can buy kits of paint, but it's mostly paint and this and any silicone things you have in your kitchen. You could take it off the plate. So I'm teaching 2 days of workshop, and my workshops are a blast, I have to say. People love each other at the end of the day. We work 10 to 4. I bring so much food and coffee. It's just fun. But I'm teaching in August. So if you're interested in, just like a Pacific Art League in August, and I'll be teaching then. Because I usually don't teach classes in the summer at Pacific Art League in Palo Alto.
Oh, it's Palo Alto.
Yeah.
I thought that it was in the Pacific.
No, Pacific Art League in Palo Alto. I'm teaching two in August.
Wow. Okay.
So if you are interested in this, that's a really good way to get a very good understanding and practice and know what you're doing with a lot of different papers. And it's also just so much fun. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And my website, everything is on here, actually on that one. So.
Mine doesn't look like it.
And then you when you were printing it, you did this, right?
What?
You were using this to
Yeah.
get a nice
To get the most.
right.
And part of it wasn't that hot. The other thing is you need to let it. People go like this quickly,
and
then you don't get much wax.
Right.
But if you go slowly, more wax melts on the plate, and you get more on. Like put it on now. Now that I did this, put that on now, and you'll see.
Which side?
Smooth side. Go ahead and do it on the smooth side. Put the smooth side down.
So we did something like
I teach in the morning, so unravel it all.
Yeah, tomorrow you'll deal with your problems.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that for you. Fast girl. Well, my God, I have such huge plates. I mean,
Yeah, so what is your largest plate that you use in order to make these big prints? You're still using just this size, right?
No. I use 32 by 66 plates.
Okay, you have a big.
By 48
got
plates. So I am gonna unplug this one now. You guys go ahead and finish. I want to make sure that you get out on time.
I'm trying your front and back approach.